Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from April 21st, 2022.
So moved.
Anyone care to make a second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion on the table is to approve the minutes from April 21st, 2022. Is there any discussion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a public forum. This is for items not on the agenda. We ask that you state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I don't know. I talked a little bit beforehand. I know you didn't all hear this, but I'm somewhat of a nudist.
Can you state your name and
Richard
address?
Dale, 505 8th Street, apartment number 2. I went to the city council meeting a week ago Tuesday, and I was very upset with the whole process of which I felt like everybody was being dismissed as. I asked to speak at the end of the meeting during council comments. Mayor Hala said no, and one of the items came on the agenda, Scranton Parks and Rec. I asked whether they would allow for public comment, and Mayor Hala said no to that. And I was so upset by the fact that they wouldn't allow anybody to comment on the things. I mean, it's on the agenda. And what else would you have a city council for to get public comments for items on the agenda? And our mayor was saying no. And since then...
Richard, is there a specific question about the aquatic center or a specific concern that you have that you'd like to share with us? Or because we don't have any control over city council. We can only make recommendations to them. So if there's something that you have a concern about the aquatic center, we can refer your question to staff. But we,
well, I guess
we can't
I'm more
just let you
concerned
complain about it. But
the fact that it's like, I like to be naked, and it's like, I voted against the New Life thing because Keith said that you wouldn't allow nudists to be part of the thing. And it's like, and, I like to wear clothes, but I'm opposed to the law that says you have to wear clothes. And I've taken off my clothes. I was a doorman for City Hall for 15 years. And it's like, when Julius Saxton told me I couldn't get the door for anybody any longer, was very upset. And it's like, sort of like as my stick it up there is I took off my clothes when I got there, and they gave me a no trespassing order for a whole year, and I can't get the door for people at City Hall and for a whole year. And it's like, I can go to city council meetings and I have to have legitimate business, and I couldn't even go to the concerts at the city auditorium because Brian Phillips said I couldn't go. I mean, even if I paid to go to the concerts at the city auditorium, and that it's like.
Sure. So we discussed this a little bit last time that we can't tell Brian Phillips what to do about this no contact order, and that if you do want to start attending concerts again at the city auditorium, that you need to talk to Brian Phillips. And if you have a specific request or question for staff, we can refer something to staff. But if you just want to complain about the current state of the law, there's nothing we can do about that as Parks Commission to change the current dress codes required in city-owned spaces. So we can't change that.
Would you sign my declaration?
Not during the meeting. If individuals would like to sign it as private citizens after the meeting, that would be up to them. But
and I can stay to the end of the meeting?
That's up to you if you would like to stay to the end of the meeting. So thank you. All right. Seeing no one else for public forum, we'll go ahead and close public forum. Next item on the agenda is an update regarding the Indoor Aquatic Center.
Yeah. So thank you, Sarah. So what I did is I did with the agenda sent out the council staff report from last week, Tuesday, number of items that we shared with the council, and I thought we'd just go through these with the commission as well. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to look through it. Initially, I'll just kind of go, page by page and highlight some of the items. So the project cost estimate update, you can see from August of 2021, when you look at the total, was with Stecker Harmson, which does estimating, looking at about just under $30.2 million. In April, we had them update, those numbers, and now we're at, just over $32.6 million. So it's almost $2.4 million change, with things. So one of the things that we kind of looked at, you can see that even with the $31 million of available funding, we're still just over $1.6 million short. So one of the things that staff had looked at, and we just shared with City Council, is should we look at the budgeting a little differently instead of trying to get everything and maybe reduce the quality, or maybe just have to even not do the project at all. If we bid everything all together as a base bid, do we need to do things differently? So the suggestion that we had is, let's take a look at some of those items, and that's on page 2 of the report. What's the owner soft and direct costs, with things, comes out to just over $9 million, leaves just almost $22 million for construction. And when we look at the building construction cost based on Stecker Harmson's exit estimates, we come out to $20.5 million. And that's without the East Addition, which would be the multipurpose space and the walking track. So in Stecker Harmson's estimate, they estimated that that East Addition would almost be $3 million. And with you can see with the funds remaining, $1.4 million, left, again, we're short, with it. So we really were asking council, on last Tuesday night, was just to if they agree with this approach, to say, hey, the aquatic center is the base bid. So the 3 basins, the locker rooms, all of that, that's the base bid. And then do the East Addition as an alternate. That way we could, if the money's available, if everything comes in favorable, we get the aquatic center. And if there's enough money left over, we could award the contract for the East Addition as well. But in the case that the costs are high, based on Stecker Harmson's cost estimates, if those are accurate, if that's how things play out, then again, we can at least get the base bid, which would be the aquatic center, and not award, the ad alternate. So with that, that's what we talked about. And again, there were 2 approaches, one, to do what I just described, or 2, bid everything together and then maybe have to make concessions. Maybe we have to shrink the size of the basins. Maybe we have to eliminate a basin. Maybe we have to skimp on quality and so on. And I think that's the last thing that we would want. So council, at the May 10th meeting, they did direct staff to go with approach number 1, is to design and bid the East Addition as an alternate. So I think what we'll do is, if you have any questions or comments about each one of these, we'll just take a few minutes and see if there's any questions that you have. So any questions about the budget? Not great news.
There's a pretty good sized contingency and markup in it.
There is. So if you look at it, there's actually two different, contingencies. So one, if you look on page 2, we do have an owner's contingency of 2.1 million. that would help us on bid day. It would help us any change orders once we started construction. And if there's contingency left at the end, sometimes what you can do is maybe you add in things that you had to pull out earlier during design. But during the design aspect, there is an estimate contingency of 1.6 million. And we've had conversation with the architect and with the construction manager about saying, hey, you know what, we're going to start with this chunk of money, and this is what you have to stay within. Because initially some of the conversation was, well, all right, we're going to have this much money, X amount, and then we're going to do incorporate a 15% kind of design or estimate contingency. So, and then by the end of the design, we usually eat up all that contingency. And I said, well, that might be the industry standard, but I really want you to think about this differently, that here's the money that we have. And if we can not touch that contingency, and if we can have a lot of discussions earlier on in the design process, then, because usually what happens is you do the schematic design, then you do design development, then you wind up doing construction design. And what happens is, oh, we didn't know enough about that. So now that we know more, hey, we'll pull money out of the contingency to cover the cost and everything. So we just really asked them to look at that differently. So we have that as part of the design piece. But then also, or the building construction, which includes design, but we also do have general requirements, which are fencing, dumpsters, porta potties. You need gravel, you need different things, 4.5%. And then we do have a 6.5% markup for the contractors. So this is it's a lot of conversations with the architect, with the construction manager, with Stecker Harmson, and with city staff, with all of these things. So with the markups that we have and the contingency, we feel that we're looking fairly good. So is that what you just do we have that in there, or were you maybe more saying is it too high?
I'm thinking, well, for starters, I think it's too high because this isn't something that, design build is something that the state's trying to outlaw right now because it is driving up costs especially for governmental entities. So as we sit back and we start seeing these design builds, this isn't the first indoor aquatic center that's been built in the state. In fact, there's multiples going on right now. So there has to be somewhere they can get some of these costs down. The concern I have is that one of the things that the city really wanted was the extra portion of it, the other rooms, the indoor walking track.
Yeah.
And so we're really kind of limiting ourselves by saying we're going to chop off this $3 million aspect of it. And when we go to build it, it's going to be $6 or $7 million and we're never going to get it built. Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying, Dwayne. And that's why, with this, if we go through the design process and they don't eat up that 1.6 million, and that's the conversation that we've had with them, because a lot of times what we're hearing from them is like, these people aren't part of schematic design. They don't come in until design development, and some people don't even come in until construction documents. And that's why, the first estimate of schematic design maybe is $20 million, or let's say 17 million. Well, now they go to design development and, now that we know more about the HVAC, we're going to do geothermal, or we're going to do this. Now all of a sudden the cost goes up. And then when you get to construction documents, oh no, we didn't know that about, you wanted to do that. So now we're going to, and that's what eats up all of that contingency. So what I have been talking to them about is we want all those people involved right from the get-go. And there are certain things that we want to talk to them about. We want the geothermal. We want it, council's already said, we want a net zero ready building. So we'll have the conduit for solar panels to be added in later on. We can have that all in. So when we do add those solar panels at some point, we can it can be a plug and go, type of system. So we've talked about the regenerative media filters versus traditional sand filters. Hey, let's have that conversation right away. And And if those regenerative media filters take up less space, they save operationally. Those are all things. Hey, let's if that's the way we want to go, let's do it right from the get-go, and then we don't have all those other things. So our goal as we go through this is really try to have those conversations early and save as much contingency as we can, because now if you take the 1.6, if we don't have to eat into any of that during the design process, and then we have 2.1 million from an owner's contingency, that's 3.7. Maybe that East Addition comes in at 2.5. You know what? We've got the 3.7. It's 2.5. Hey, let's award that, and we're good to go. So that's why we wanted to. And these numbers may change a little bit when we get down to the end. We may say, look, we want you to stay within this number, maybe even a little less than what this is. So we understand. I understand completely what you're saying, Dwayne, and I think what we want to try to do is we want to get it all as well. And I think it's going to be incumbent on the Joshuas, the Courtneys, the me, and rest of staff, and the architect and the construction manager holding each other accountable too to keep costs down, so we can get as much as we can. Yeah, so good question. We'll see how it goes, right? Any other questions on the budget side of things? All right. So the second one was with RDG Planning and Design and Council. In a prior meeting, they had told staff, directed staff to they approved waiving city policy, so we wouldn't have to go out to bid. We could just work with RDG for design, and we just want to make sure that they were still good to go with that, and they are, because if we wind up having to start a new process, that will delay everything along the way. If we had to go out for an RFP and try to get a new design, and we're not sure it's going to save us money either. They already know the program. They're familiar with the program, what we're trying to accomplish, and that helps. So with that, that's any questions on RDG? So with the construction manager contract, and there's several pages of information regarding the construction manager. We did an RFP for this. We did get 4 firms: Story Construction, Henkel Construction, ICS Consulting, and then the Samuels Group. And we looked at staff. It was 5 of us were on a team, and we evaluated all the proposals. And you can see that on page 4. But Story Construction, Henkel Construction came out as the top 2. So we did interviews with those 2 firms. And then after the interview, what we wound up doing is Story Construction, when you looked at the RFP score plus the interview score, they still came out on top. Now, one of the things with it, when you look at their cost estimate, they were about $300,000 more than what Henkel was. And after we got done with the interview process, there was a series of additional questions and follow-up that we had with Story Construction and Henkel Construction, both good firms, both reputable. So there was additional information that we looked for. One of the things that we asked for was the number of aquatics facilities that they've been involved with. Henkel had mostly outdoor aquatic facilities. Story had both indoor and outdoor aquatic facilities. All of Henkel's aquatic projects were as a general contractor, none of them as a construction manager. Story had a combination of both. We also looked at, the number of CM projects that they had over the last 5 years and how many of them were over $20 million construction, just to see what they had. So Henkel, I believe, had 11 CM projects. Story had 25 CM projects. Henkel's largest project was a $12 million budget for construction, and Story, on the other hand, had 5 that were 20 million or more. So one of the things with the reason that we're going with a construction manager as well is that we really felt the bang for the buck is in those pre-construction services. Having a construction manager sitting in on all those design meetings, having the conversation, knowing what the construction market is, saying, no, you guys, the architect, you're going way out here. We don't need to go way out there. Or you're speccing things that are going to cost a lot of money because of long lead times, or those materials are hard to get right now. So you could go with this, still accomplish the same look, the same quality, and so on. So one of the things, one of the differences in Story's budget of that 300,000 more, they had 100,000 more towards the pre-construction services. And one of the things council pushed back on this and said, why, what else was it with Story Construction? What is it with Henkel and so on? So when we talked about that, one of the things that I did share is that when we interviewed, we asked both of them, what do you do during the pre-construction services? And Story went through their whole process of being involved in the estimating. We got how many, 5, 7 estimators, something like that. When we talked with Henkel just referenced one estimator for all of their projects, but they also said, well, what we do is at the end of schematic design or at the end of design development, what we wind up doing is we take a look at the drawings that the architect put together, and then we'll take a look at them and we'll make suggestions and we'll give them back to the architect and they can look at them. And I said, well, wouldn't it be more productive, to have that conversation right away and not wait until the very end? So what we wound up doing through all of it, that's why we have, had recommended or started working with Story Construction. We feel that for our project, they're the best company to help us navigate, through this project. And I would just tell you, and this will come at another time, but we have been negotiating, and that difference between Henkel and Story is no longer 300,000. That has shrunk that difference. So eventually we did ask council do you agree with continuing with Story Construction, or do you want us to go a different route? And they did direct staff to continue to working with Story Construction for this project. So on a side note, and you'll see this later, Henkel Construction is what staff is recommending to be awarded the downtown Plaza project. So they kind of both get their hands wet in a couple different projects. So anything on the construction manager piece?
As part of the RFP, was it expected to tell you who their project manager would be?
We did ask them for the who's going to be their team, and actually during the interview they did bring key members, both groups. Henkel did have their project manager at the interview. Story did not. Their project manager was sick at the time, could not make it. But we did meet with the project manager afterwards at a different time to have conversation with them.
Who's it going to be?
Do you remember?
Roy Donahue is his name. He's new. He's assisting.
No. So he's so he'll be the project manager and for it.
Thank you.
Okay. The last one, not last one, but the DOT, land acquisition. We've mentioned before that the appraisal came in at 2.9 million. the policy that the DOT has is they get the appraisal done. It's verified by another appraiser. They verified it. It came in at 2.9 million. We've been working with the DOT on an offer to buy, which is if they give us the offer to buy, we have 30 days to respond. If we respond within 30 days, then they'll follow up with a letter saying, hey, we accept your offer. And then what they do is once they get payment, which the city is looking to not make payment until October 1st, and the DOT has agreed to vacate the premises as of September 30th of this year. And once they get payment, then they start the land patent process. The land patent is similar to your deed for your house, but they call it a land patent. Generally takes about 45 days. One of our concerns with that is if we wanted to start doing things in the buildings, we wouldn't be able to do that. So we talked to them about this. They brought up that they have done at times called a mutually beneficial lease, where that gives us the opportunity to go in and start doing things. So like just as the property were our own. So if we wanted to start clearing things out, if we wanted to go in and hey, there's some light bulbs or doors or whatever we wanted to start taking out, we could do that. So that's where we're at right now. And yeah, so right now we have not taken that to council. We have not asked the DOT to present that offer to buy yet, because we only have 30 days. So we're still holding off on that one. We have talked to them about getting rid of some of hazardous materials that are in the facility. They have agreed to take some out, but not all. There's some asbestos that we'll need to look at, and that's roughly could be $6,500 to $10,000, depending on what exactly looks like when the company or contractor gets up there. So a lot of things in here. It talks about going to council or bringing things back on the 24th. That is not happening. It's not going to be. Hopefully, we can do something June 10th or June 14th at their meeting, but we're not taking anything regarding that. So then, again, doing our due diligence, with the environmental, aspect of it. So we did work with Impact 7G, and you can see there's a number of different things. The phase 1 environmental assessment was done. That's more of a historical type of thing. Look what's on the site. I think we shared this with you in the past about, there was a gas station on the northeast corner. There was an underground fuel tank on the southwest corner. There is a gas coal plant that was north of the property. There were some leaking underground storage tanks to the east of the property. So a lot of that was brought up in that phase 1 study, and then what we did is during that same time, they did an inspection, asbestos-containing material inspection on the north annex, and they also did one of the conference center. They did find some asbestos on the roof of the north annex, but they didn't find anything in the other building, based on the samples that they took. And then they did do a hazardous material inventory as well. So based on all of that in the phase 1, said, all right, let's do a phase 2 study, and with it, the phase 2 study actually does some soil borings, but then they also test groundwater to look for contaminants. We also at the same time had them do a geotech report, which was soil borings as well, based on if we're going to do this. Let's do the geotech right at the same time while they're right there. They don't have to mobilize again at a separate time. So if you look on page 8, there is 3, TMW 1, 2, and 3 were environmental and geotech, and then 4 through 9 were just geotech. So in addition to that, then we also did a ground penetrating radar, because through the historical review, they didn't find any records of those underground storage tanks for the gas station that they were ever removed. So, so the GPR, they just went down, supposed to normally go down about 8 or 9 feet. This, because of the soils and so on, we're only be able to get about 2 to 3 feet. You know, we did ask the question, you know, of Impact 7G, you know, should we be concerned? They said, well, not really, because filler tanks or filler pipes and stuff, you would have, you know, recognized that. But anyways, that's still a concern for us, whether or not there are tanks in there or not in that northeast corner. The geotech, for the most part, the soil borings, you know, did show that just you know, a variety of different constructions, you know, can be put into that place, but most likely we're going to end up having to do something different with the footings. Groundwater's at 7 to 10 feet, depending on the location of the site. So they're going to, what they call is dewatering. As you're building, you try to get a lot of that water out of those holes so you can pour your footings and do different things and so on. So that could be an additional cost. We did actually incorporate another $125,000 in the budget that we shared earlier, just to cover, you know, those extra footings and things that might need to be done. So with the LSI, the limited subsurface investigation, so they did look at it. There were some contaminants that they found. We did have some conversation with the DNR, because with contaminated soil, if you're doing any digging in contaminated soil, then the DNR comes in and oversees that process. So what we're trying to do is figure out, is it a concern or isn't it a concern? And so we've been having more conversation with Impact 7G. We've had more conversation with the DNR. What we're looking at, you know, doing, and one of the things that council directed staff to do is to do some additional borings in that northeast corner, which we have those slated for June 7th. Right now, they're trying to get them done earlier if they have an opening in their schedule. We're asking them about with the sump pumps that are in the buildings to maybe do a test on that water. See if there's anything coming into the buildings that way. And then also in talking with the DNR, they have a device that actually goes down about 30 feet. It's they call it a geoscience or geophysical survey, which GPR is one type of a geophysical survey, but they have another one that goes down about 20 feet. So we're working with the DNR, you know, to come in and do that for us, and even offered to pay them. And they said, well, if we do it, we can't charge you for it. It's like, so one bright spot of this whole thing, right?
Wait a minute.
Don't have to pay this.
I don't trust that at all.
So anyway, so those are some things we're doing. Council said, yes, you know, let's do your research, have more conversation with these groups, come back at another time once you get the follow up, and then give us a report, and we'll move forward from there. So that's kind of an overview of everything, you know, that we shared with council. A lot of stuff. A lot of conversations, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of reports. That LSI report, 697 pages.
What?
So
That's a little light reading at bedtime.
yeah. But we don't read it at bedtime because we want to make sure we understand it. So, but there's just a lot of information, and some of it is not in our wheelhouse. You know, Joshua, Courtney, other staff members, we don't have that. So we've been having conversation with staff out at the WPC, with Public Works, you know, different you know, departments, and just trying to help us understand, you know, what we're seeing and try to determine, you know, is there a risk or isn't there? So that's where we're at. So we're on hold a little bit, because obviously we want to do, you know, our due diligence and make sure, you know, first off, you know, that the safety of our patrons and staff and anybody working on the project, it's safe for them. not only in the short term, but long term as well. And again, it may wind up that there's nothing, that it's not a concern. But again, we want to make sure before we make a recommendation to council.
Will the building have a basement for mechanical and other? Stuff?
There, we have not gotten into all of that, but a lot of times, there some of is the deepest basin we're going to have is going to be 8 foot.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be underground in that 7 to 10, and a lot of times you will have some pumps. You probably will have maybe some sumps in there as well. So they're very well could be, and most likely will be equipment and mechanical stuff below grade.
Mhm.
Would you agree, Joshua?
Yeah.
No.
Cool.
All right.
Any other questions for Keith? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the update regarding the downtown plaza design.
Yeah, so we had a council action forum on May 10th also, and kind of went through with things and again in there with the base bid. When you looked at what the engineer's estimate was for the base bid, it was about 3.6 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. Low bid for base bid was 4.61 million. So it comes out a shortfall of $950 million or 950,000.
Whoa.
950,000.
$1 billion
yeah.
short.
So 950,000, short. So what we did is staff had conversations with Henkel Construction because they were the low bidder. We looked at some of the alternates, and Henkel Construction did give some value engineering ideas, to the project. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but that was one of the some of the information in there. So with it, the only way that we could get under what the funding is for was to cut out the ice, which was like 1.1 million.
Yep.
And council, in their vision, they wanted something that was a year-round activity. They wanted a space that had year-round activities. So if you cut out the ice, and ice is not something that you can just come back at a later time and put in if you want to do it well. So there in there, there's a number of different items that were shared and so on. So with it came out to 158,000 is what staff recommended. When you look at things just for the change, change order, there were some items that not necessarily part of the base bid, but also affected just the overall budget. So taking out the art piece, that wasn't part of the base bid, but there's $150,000 in the budget. So it said, hey, we're not gonna do that. We can always do that at a later time. One of the other things that we looked at is, we had 134,000 in for FF&E. The people or the company whose equipment, just outside furnishings, the tables, chairs, things of that sort, that came in at their quote came in at 140,000, 143,000, and we still have to buy an eye sharpening machine, the keyless access, the fiber thing coming in, security cameras, sound system, all those types of things. So what we did do is we
Jeremy Bristow Tiny Zamboni.
yeah. So we did.
Yes, I'll attach it to the back of my car.
So we
Gonna donate
did
the money for that.
Yeah. So we did increase the FF&E up to 200,000, just because we won't have enough money. So with all of that, what council and council does have $1 million in a fund, that they could use. It's a one-time thing that was put together. So what council did decide to do is they said, yes, we want to move forward with the project. We agree with the changes, that you suggested. One of the things that they asked to be added was conduit for the light columns. And in the future, then we could just run wire and add the columns if we wanted to. And again, same thing here. If there's some contingency left, we could add those at the end of the project. So what we are doing for next week, Tuesday, we're coming back with asking council to award the contract for the base bid and alternate 2, which will come out to about, I think it's $4,643,000. And then we will ask them to approve a change order for that $158,000. And roughly, and that's just rough, we're getting the final numbers yet, but that's roughly what the change order will be. So they'll approve that. And then they will also approve the contract and bond all at the same meeting. Generally, you award the contract and then you come back with change orders later, or the contract and bond winds up being approved at the next meeting. So we're doing all of this all at one time. It doesn't happen very often, but we want to, get it all awarded, and then, they can start construction as soon as the lot here on North 6th Street, gets finished. Then, parking from here can be transferred to there, and then we can start ripping up the parking lot and start that project. There are some other things, cast in precast panels. One of the things that Henkel has said is that they won't be able to get precast panels until March of 23, which if we wait for precast panels, then we lose the capability of testing the ice because there wouldn't be any walls, on the building. And we'd like to have walls up before we put all the ice equipment and everything else in. So we're looking at, do we do precast panels? Can we get them maybe from a different manufacturer? Or do we do cast in place? So that may be a change order at a later time. One of the other things that was in the report was converting the chiller to a self-contained unit. The one thing we basically have made the decision at this point, we're still waiting on some information, but we don't like that idea. It saves a little bit of money, but it also puts, like 12 by 30 or 8 feet wide by 30 feet long by 12 feet high, all outside. And we just didn't like that. Didn't think that was the look that we're looking for. So we'll be sharing that with council, at a future date as well. So the good news, it's moving forward. But there's still a number of things that need to happen. So any questions?
I got a little Craftsman shed in my backyard. Get everything in there or no?
I'll let you borrow that until the panels come in.
Yeah. We might need it.
Okay. Keep that in mind.
We might need it. So
All right.
Did you say that Henkel got the bid?
well, that's what we're taking to council.
Okay.
So we'll actually award the contract next Tuesday. So in council at the last meeting basically directed staff to keep working with Henkel. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we have done, and that's what we will recommend on Tuesday. So, all right.
Sounds awesome.
Good job.
Thanks, Jeremy.
There's a lot going on. So
Yeah.
good job to
Can't
you
believe
and all
you
the
can keep all
staff.
this straight in your head.
I know. Watching you not even use a piece of paper, that's pretty impressive.
So there's a lot going on, and that's just two of the projects. We got a number of other projects that are
Yeah.
happening, and which we'll get into this next topic. So thank you for that, and I got to say it's it's I can sit up here and I can give you the overview and the rundown and everything, but it's Joshua, it's Courtney, it's other people, Corey Mellis from Fleet helping with the downtown plaza, and people at Water and Public Works and so on. So it really has been a good team effort from a lot of different people to help us work through, these issues.
Way to go, City of Ames.
Yep. So hopefully we can, at the end, we have a great plaza and we have a great indoor aquatic center when it's all said and done. So
Fully confident.
that's what we're looking for. Yep.
Okay. Any more questions for Keith regarding the downtown plaza? All right. Next item on the agenda is an update on the upcoming Firmin Aquatic Center 2022 season.
Yes. So if you've been seeing anything that we've been pushing out on Facebook or through our newsletters and so on, and did share this at the last meeting a little bit too. We just hadn't been getting a lot of applications, for lifeguards, for swim instructors, for water slide attendants, and so on. So we've been really making a big push, to get applications. The good news is that we've received a lot of applications, and Courtney and Jan Britson, who's our swim lesson coordinator, they've been conducting interviews and so on, which has been great. So we're up to, I think, through with who we have yet to interview and who is waiting on a background check and who is waiting to complete the paperwork process, and the ones that we've hired, we're sitting at about 70 lifeguards or maybe a little bit more, which is a good thing. The bad news is that a number of those people still need to get certified. They're swimmers. They know how to swim. We feel that they'd be good addition, to our staff and so on. So right now we're trying to figure out, and I'm actually, meeting with Courtney, at 6:00. She has an interview at 5:30, and then meeting with her at 6, and then we're meeting with the shift leaders, or our LGIs, which are lifeguard instructors who can teach the lifeguard class. So we're meeting with them at 7:30, and really trying to figure out how can we get everybody certified. So right now, and we're going to continue to work through this, but there is a good chance that we will not open next weekend. We usually open Memorial Day weekend. There's a good chance that we won't be able to do that because we won't have enough staff certified. And with it, one of the things, and sometimes, we have taken it for granted, or maybe the community has taken it for granted, that we could be doing these certifications left and right at municipal pool. Well, municipal pool isn't there anymore. So we've been trying. We had a class last weekend at Forker. We have another class this weekend at Forker. But they only have so much availability too. Swim America has started back up. Longtime user of Forker pool. Right now, just some things with the aquatic center, getting the lazy river that'll start being filled tomorrow. The leak is taken care of. But there were some things with the 50 meter, that came up. So we started filling that today. So really, even if we wanted to have a certification class next week, we won't be able to do it until Thursday. Because there's, again, steps. We need to circulate the water, get some of the rust and other things out of the water. And then we got to start balancing the chemicals. And then we got to do a monthly water test and so on. So right now, again, I'll be meeting with Courtney, Joshua. Courtney and I are meeting tomorrow morning, to have more conversation about this. So with all of that, we'll be doing. I've already talked to Susan Guiazda, our public relations officer. We'll start getting things out, maybe as early as tomorrow, maybe no later than Monday, to start letting people know what we're going to do. So even that week of Memorial Day, so May 31st through July 2nd, Tuesday through Thursday,
June.
if we can open and do some things in the evenings, maybe do a 4 to 8, maybe a 5 to 8, something along those lines. We're going to try to do what we can, to get open, and even can open the basins, but not the slides. That's what we're going to try to do. But I'm just letting you know, because once we get this out, you may be getting calls, you may be getting asked questions. Same thing with council. So, but we're really going to try to see if we can, over starting Thursday through even, that Wednesday, the 3rd, trying to get in, add some certification classes. And we know some of it will be over holiday weekend. It's graduation weekend. It's, a number of different things going on, but trying to provide some different options, for staff to get certified. So we can do that. And it doesn't help either, but a long time event, and the Parks and Recreation Commission has supported it. Staff is supportive of it. But June 3rd, we'd be closed for the Rock the Blocks swim meet for Ames Cyclone Aquatics Club. And then Saturday morning the 4th and Sunday morning the 5th, we'd be closed as well, and we'd be open from 2 to 8. So the goal is hopefully we can have enough staff to do that. And then, once we get starting the 6th, hopefully we can we're at a point that we can get back to normal. But again, this is not just unique to Ames. The whole staffing shortage is no matter what business you're in. It's across the country. The National Recreation Park Association, they did a quick survey at the end of last week about aquatics. And as of last week, only 15% of the pools across the country are fully staffed for the summer. We're in that position. And I think it was maybe 17 to 20% were kind of 84 or 81%, maybe 84% to 100%. But there were 39% of the departments were in that 51 to 84, which is what we fall in right now. So it's not unique to us. And there are places with multiple pools that are only opening one pool because they don't have enough staff. Everybody's raising fees. We raised our wages, not fees. We raised our wages, $2 an hour, and we're giving anybody that works on a weekend a shift premium. So basically they're making $3 more per hour on the weekend than they were last year. And that has enticed some people. So those are things you've seen, the realtor signs out. I tell you, I've gone to soccer meets and I'm talking to parents it's like, hey, you got kids, what are they doing for the summer? And I know we have other staff throughout the organization, that have been pushing. There have been at times where we have for various reasons not had some employees' children work for Parks and Recreation, depending on what their thing. Just like me, I won't allow my kids to work in the city organization. I don't think it's fair to them. If something goes amok or whatever. And there are other people that feel the same way, but we have even, there are some employees' children that are capable of lifeguarding, and we have opened up to them as well. So it's not like we've been sitting on our hands. So your comment earlier, just with, the two projects that we just talked about, this has been taking a lot of our time. Our maintenance staff trying to get through everything, working with the contractors to make sure things, are accomplished. Courtney.
You guys been
everything.
talking about this since January, February.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's-
And but it wasn't. We weren't getting there. We weren't anywhere.
Yeah.
And once finally we start talking about, we may. And I've heard parents say that. Look, go down and fill out an application or get online and complete an application because we need the pool open.
right.
So.
I thought you were gonna conscript us all into service.
Selective service.
I actually did read an article last summer. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal about older lifeguards that had gone, basically because the shortage is so bad in some communities. There were some, people in their 30s, 40s who had gone back and served as lifeguards
Yeah.
for the summer. So
Yeah. And we've been really pushing for water slide attendants because they need to be 16 and they need to be lifeguards, AED and CPR certified. So we've really been pushing that because if we don't have the water slide attendants, that's 4 more lifeguards that we need, to do those slides. But if we can get water slide attendants in some of those locations, then we don't need lifeguards to do it. On top of the drop slide in the 50 meter, we have to have a lifeguard, on that one, but because we don't have a lifeguard in the water at the bottom, but the other ones, when we do, we can go by with a water slide attendant. So we're looking at a lot of different things. One other thing that we've been talking about, we haven't made a final decision. Usually during open swim, we do deep water testing, and right now we're kind of leaning, and that's for children 12 and under. If you want to go in the deep end, you have to have a deep water test and have a deep water band. We're looking at doing those during swim lessons during the morning and not doing them during open swim because we can save 2 lifeguards. So again, it may not be convenient, for some people, but we're really, what we want to do is we want to be open, and so we're really trying to look at a lot of different things to open as soon as we can.
How many swim instructors are you down?
Well, actually, right now, swim instructors, we have been able to hire enough swim instructors who aren't lifeguards, and just talking with Jan Britson over the lunch hour, and she said that she was actually going to be contacting Katie and Val to open some additional swim lessons,
Nice.
because right now all of our swim lessons are full, and they have been full for a while. So she's been able to get enough swim instructors to be able to open up some more and get some people off the waiting list. So,
Great.
but if you have somebody, if you know of somebody, have them apply, because the more people we have, the more classes we can offer. And it's also one of the things, if we can teach the kids how to, I think Katie shared this, it was a Facebook post or something, that, if we aren't teaching kids how to swim, that's just going to exacerbate the problem later on, because we won't have enough people that swim well enough to be able to be a lifeguard.
Yep.
So need to do what we can.
Keith, how feasible is it for next year to fill and prep the 50-meter basin earlier just for lifeguard certifications?
Well, that was our goal this year, to do some of that.
Yeah.
But there were a few things that happened. We were converting, our pumps to VFDs with variable frequency drives, which is good on the operation side. So we're in that process. And then it was with the valve, but generally, and there was some painting that needed to be done. The wet spring, didn't help. So we had to delay some of the painting that we needed to do in the basin as well. So all of those things combined got us started later. Generally by now, the pools are up, they're balanced, and they're ready to go. So it's kind of that perfect storm.
Yeah.
All these things are coming at the same time and things. So no, our goal would be to open the 50 meters sooner.
Oh, yeah.
Or get it open, so we can
Okay.
do the certifications.
So
Yep.
next year.
Yep.
Good.
And we will continue to work with the school district next year too, because their pool will be open, and that will be another option for us. Again, we haven't had those conversations, but we will be having those conversations to see what we can do.
Well, I think you put more emphasis on a partnership, with your youth job fair and everything. And certainly recruiting lifeguards from the high school is a good partnership to have because they have such an excellent swim program and they obviously want to foster that. So it's like, I mean, I think that's just a great partnership to have, even though we don't have the municipal pool there anymore. So.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I think we can revisit this as well is at one time we had a conversation with the high school principal about offering a lifeguard certification class as part of the PE program.
Yeah.
And that we would pay the certification in that, they could take that as an alternative, as one of their PE options. And then things kind of, fell apart. There might've been a leadership change or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's something that we could have conversation with as well. Because if we could do that, that would help a lot. Now you're not only getting your class requirement taken care of, but you're also getting a certification that helps you get a job. So that's another thing that we can revisit as we move forward too.
Well, and I think especially as we work towards having an aquatic center, a city aquatic center again. I mean, you're going to need year-round lifeguards and more lifeguards than you have in the past. So, I think that's a really great idea.
Keith, did they get their Red Cross CPR certification with their lifeguard? Because that also will satisfy one of the high school graduation requirements.
Yes. Yeah. Part of the lifeguard, they do get first aid, CPR, and AED certification with it.
That's a double whammy to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double bonus.
Yeah. That means bad.
Whammy. A new superintendent, new principal,
Yeah. Yep. So we'll have those conversations.
new pool.
Two new
Nice.
schools.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions or comments regarding pool opening?
Did you ever get the leak fixed?
In the lazy river. Yeah, they're should be done now. It's been a process, but what they did is they one of the things that we didn't want to do is have to break into the deck, remove concrete, have to replace it, and it's ductile pipe, which is kind of difficult to work with. So what we did is we hired a contractor that actually takes a rubber liner and pulls it like a sock through a pipe and inflates it, and it seals. So
Sounds like what we did for the storm sewer or the sanitary
Yep.
sewer.
very, very similar to that. So
Yeah.
the contractors actually started last week, and it's a kind of a difficult job, but he said that they got it done. So,
Good.
yeah. And then we were planning on filling the lap pool, 50-meter pool yesterday or 2 days ago, and we started to put water in it, and a valve wasn't holding back water, so we had to source a valve, and it's just been a lot of fun. But we're working through it. So
Perseverance.
that's right.
I
You
saw
sound like you're having fun with it.
What?
I said you sound like you're having fun with it.
I saw that pipe repair truck pull into Ferment. I was driving behind them on 13th Street, and I was like, either that's good or bad. I don't know yet.
I think it's nice though. It's done. Didn't have to tear up the deck, but it was very, very expensive. It was close to $45,000
Wow.
for 70 feet of liner. So it was not cheap by any means. So just thankful we had the money to repair it, because
Yep.
some communities don't have that. So,
Well, the lazy river is used for so many things. I mean, the water walkers and
Yeah.
all the other things that's happening in there even before the pool opens. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's a major,
amenity. Yeah.
Yep.
awesome.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to discuss potential locations for the June Parks tour.
Yeah. So if there are locations, that you want to see, a couple things that we had talked about is potentially the gardens, at Carr Park, gardens out at Delaware, maybe those two locations, Hera Park, those, if you haven't been by there, that those improvements have been made. Franklin Park, have been made. There's one thing we may, the city council member, and they did approve, directed staff to have conversation with Iowa State administration about Reactor Woods, about could there be a partnership for that. I know Dwayne, Sarah, and I had conversation about this last fall, but maybe we could. We'll see where that goes. So that may wind up something that we maybe have more discussion about. Not, when Sarah, Dwayne, and I, we basically kind of came to the conclusion that no, we don't want to, pursue this. But we'll see what happens. So that's a maybe for that location. But is there anything else? I would suggest that if you haven't, with the rain that we've had, if you haven't been down to the Lowhead Dam in North River Valley, looks a lot different than last year when it was bone dry. Has anybody been down there since
I
with
haven't.
the rain? Oh yeah, you just live right there.
I'm there almost every day.
Yeah, looks a lot different, doesn't
A
it?
lot different.
Yeah, it's just a neat thing. So, but is there anything else that maybe by June we might have the kayak launch, up at Ada Hayden done. We're kind of working. We actually had to have Snyder Associates redesign, the bulkhead and everything. So we think that we'll be able to get a contractor to bid it,
Has
to give
everyone
us some quotes.
has everyone seen the new fishing pier at Ada Hayden? No. Yes. No.
No?
That because
Okay,
I
so
was at
maybe-
the ribbon cutting, but and you were, but
And we were freezing.
it was a nice day.
Yeah. Well, the fishing pier is nice.
It is really nice.
And a lot of positive comments. So,
Yeah, I can't wait.
so anything else? And if you think of
Surprise
something,
me.
Huh?
Surprise me.
Surprised me.
Our park would be nice so we can see where the course is going to be laid out and new beds.
Yeah, if people haven't been over there because the old bathing house is demolished now, and so it looks quite different than it
Mhm.
has if you haven't
Yeah.
been over there.
yeah. All right. If you think of something else, just go ahead and just shoot me an email, and we'll put something together. We probably will for that. We probably will start up here. I think there's going to be 2 items that will need you to take some action on before we go out on the tour. So if you just want to focus on the tour, we could always do a special meeting. Otherwise, just take care of it all on. And we've done that before. We'll come up here, take care of it, and then go out on the tour.
I'm in a public forum in the van.
Yeah. So, all right.
The iPad turned
Yeah.
off. I lost track of things. All right. Next item on the agenda is project updates and monthly report.
Yeah, I think about the only thing with the project updates was talking about the kayak canoe launch. I know there's a write-up in the monthly report too, giving you a little bit more information, about that. But other than that, and obviously we gave you 2 big reports earlier. So I would just let Josh, if there's anything on the monthly report that he'd like to share.
Yeah, I just want to tell the public we have all the restrooms open, all the water fountains open and available. I just want to ask individuals if they see anything that's out of the ordinary in the park system, let us know. We want to get that squared away, whether it's a water issue or something that's something obviously just out of ordinary that's shouldn't be in the park system. Just let us know. We want to make sure put our eyes on it. We don't see everything, so we appreciate the public's help in that. So.
Yeah, another thing from a program or facility side, the ice arena, we've been closed down doing painting. What we did wind up, we took the ice down as far as we could. We repainted Got the logos back on, the curling circles and so on. We're making ice. So we should be open again June 1st is what we're looking at. But just to give you a heads up, and I don't remember if we talked about this in the past. I don't think we have. So one of the things that we have found, and we didn't do it this year because we already had things on the books, camps in June and so on, and other rentals and everything. But next summer, most likely we will have to shut down for 6 to 8 weeks. And one of the things that we have found out is that we have a sand base, for under the ice. And one of the things that we found out is when we were talking about the downtown plaza, and then there were some questions about the ice arena, and it said, well, what do you have for a base? We said sand. It was like, oh, so you guys re-level that? And it's like, re-level it? It's like, yeah, you should re-level it every 5 to 10 years. We've been open 21. We've never re-leveled it. And they said, well, you guys must be doing something right. So again, look for the positive, with it. But I think derecho, when we did start having ice melt, that kind of exasperated it. But none of us knew that was even something that we should be doing. So that is something that we do need to do, and that will help with the quality of ice and so on in the future. So just a heads up, that is something that we will be, programming in for next year. And what we'll probably do is with it, and we don't know yet, but maybe we allow, or maybe we have some things in May and we close down in June and July, or we have it May and June and we shut down in July and August. We just don't know yet. We'll have to have conversation with the user groups and get some of their feedback, and then we'll come to a time. But we want to get that figured out no later than this fall, so everybody knows what's happening.
Is that what was causing the big dark patches in the ice?
Yes.
And are we going to be able to keep those semi-level this coming year?
We will be trying our best. We will be trying our
the ice
best.
will be level. It's just that some areas of the ice are thinner than other areas. And that's what you're seeing there is that when we were starting to bring down ice, trying to get in preparation for when we were going to take the ice out to where we could paint it, the resurfacer got a little too low and started taking away that paint. And then it started, you put water on surface, it starts to melt and it starts to spread. So we know those spots. We have identified all those locations. We know what we need to do to ensure that we have proper ice cover over those. It's not like incredibly thick, but staff's doing our best to maintain that.
Yeah, good question. So other than that, move on, Sarah.
All right. Next, any other monthly report items or no? Next item on the agenda is commission member comments. If anyone has anything to add. Mayor and council bike ride is this Saturday. Meet at City Hall. I think
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Let's see.
You gonna see you there, Jeremy?
Which weekend? This weekend?
Yeah.
I'll be in Minneapolis.
Oh, sure.
Listen, the rink's never closed for this guy.
All right. Next meeting is Thursday, June 16th, which will be the annual parks tour, with maybe a short meeting at the dais before. So if there's nothing else, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.